How to avoid stinky meat juice dumpster divers, what to do when they fall in your stew, and the question on everyone's mind: what the heck is dribble? We're breaking down everything you need to know about those supermarket absorbent meat pads. If you go to a search engine and begin typing the question, "Are absorbent meat pads?" the very first autofill ending to pop up may well read toxic. Contrary to popular belief, however, the pads placed in the bottom of the styrofoam trays are completely harmless. Though you don't want to go munching on them anytime soon, because they will be placed in the packaging in direct contact with food. The U.S. Department of Agriculture views these pads as a type of food additive, and therefore takes what goes into them very seriously. So what does go into absorbent meat pads? The entirety of a meat pad's absorbent layer is made up of one of two things: silica gel, like the little packets found inside a box containing a pair of new shoes, or cellulose, which is a plant derivative. Though you probably don't want to eat either directly, both are non-toxic and are considered safe to touch meat within the package. Once that middle wicking layer is assembled, it's covered with a plastic wrapping, which is pierced with small holes to increase absorption. To help you feel even better about things, the FDA must then give the newly constructed absorbent meat pad its stamp of approval before it can be used in a package of actual food. Believe us, you're safe.
Do you recycle?
With the massive and important push for sustainability going on across the globe, many people want to be able to recycle everything they can. So as you're sprinting to the garbage can with your absorbent meat pad, which is leaking rapidly dripping pink liquid all over the place, you may have experienced a moment of questioning that made you pause. Are you supposed to recycle this? Nope. Keep that thing moving toward the trash, because you were right the first time. That's because since these pads are generally made from silica, they are generally non-recyclable and non-compostable. Although, as we mentioned, some pads are made from cellulose, a plant-based product that can be reused and also degrades more quickly than silica-based ones. However, this perforated plastic that must be placed around all absorbent meat pads to make them work the way they should cancels out any slim possibility of reusing it, regardless of what the inside is made from. So, sadly for most consumers, the waste bin is the only way to safely discard absorbent meat pads, at least for now. Absorbent meat pads serve as essential protectors against bacterial growth and help extend the shelf life of meat. With meat boasting a whopping 75% water content, packaging it without any precautions can lead to a pooling of moisture, creating an ideal breeding ground for illness-causing bacteria. Thanks to these ingenious pads, our wrapped steaks stay drier and safer, akin to a diaper for a little human or a workout shirt for a sweat-stained body, wicking moisture away and preventing the overgrowth of harmful bacteria. Without these pads, our meat would quickly become unsafe for consumption, putting us at higher risk of food poisoning. Beyond their bacteria-fighting prowess, these meat pads also play a role in preserving freshness. When meat is excessively packed with juices, its spoilage accelerates. However, a clean absorbent meat pad prevents the meat from sitting and stewing in its own liquids, extending its shelf life. Scientists have gone the extra mile, creating innovative pads containing polyvinyl alcohol, agarose, and purple sweet potato anthocyanins. These modern marvels not only keep meat dry, but also infuse antioxidants and a pH-detecting element. In simpler terms, they bestow life-extending antioxidant power upon the meat they touch and signal consumers through color-changing technology whether the meat is still safe to consume. In groundbreaking tests, ground meat packaged with these advanced pads show color changes over time, indicating the level of freshness and precisely determining when the meat had turned bad. Compared to traditional packaging, the antioxidant-infused meat reportedly remained fresh a full 24 hours longer. Such intelligent pads exemplify the wonders of scientific innovation, offering a glimpse of a future where food stays safer and fresher for longer. Anyone who has ever transferred a bag of frozen meat to the fridge and watched it slowly fill up with red juices as it defrosts over the next few days can't deny the truth that wet, drippy meat is seriously unappealing. In fact, you might end up getting so grossed out by the red in the bag that you find yourself tempted to toss the whole package out instead of marinating and throwing it on the grill, even if it is perfectly safe for consumption. For many shoppers, the same general rule applies during their trip to the grocery store. Consumers tend to find liquid in packaged meats to be gross, and so they won't think twice about setting it down and walking away. Even if it was otherwise a lovely, tasty cut, it's more likely to be left out. This is obviously detrimental to a company or supermarket's profits. But if no one buys the meat, then what happens? You guessed it, that poor waiting New York strip might get thrown into the trash instead of whipped up for dinner, even if it's safe to eat when cooked properly. This can be all the worse considering the persistent issue of food waste in the US and beyond. That's where absorbent meat pads can help. To keep people cooking and buying meat, not to mention helping to keep our landfills free from should-have-been meals. The absorbent meat pads that suck up all that unattractive liquid are an absolute must. Having an absorbent layer in a package of meat is vital when it comes to moisture control. But just like anything else, there can be too much of a good thing. The European Union requires that all pads used within packaged meats must be sufficient enough to soak up every last drop of liquid. This in turn causes vendors in many European countries to opt for oversized, hyper-absorbent pads so they can be sure that they adhere to this safety regulation. However, a pad that is too absorbent can, unsurprisingly enough, have an unpleasant drying effect on the meat. This is especially true for chicken, which tends to be a relatively low moisture meat from the start. A high level of carbon dioxide, such as can be found with a sealed package environment of meat, with an overly absorbent pad in its midst, is associated with a higher rate of dribble. This means that the piece of meat will push out more liquids than it would under other conditions, simply because of the excessive wicking material sitting beneath it. So, while using a hyperabsorbent meat pad will certainly mean that all unappealing juices will get sucked up, it may end up pulling out more than is necessary too. The trick here is to find a happy absorbent meat pad medium. It always seems to happen. Some of the nastiest, stinkiest items from your kitchen end up needing to be tossed in the outdoor garbage bin. Yet, there may still be a few days remaining until that trash truck comes down your block to pick it up.
And they'll stink for days.
Fully soaked absorbent meat pads definitely qualify as nasty and stinky here, given that they have been marinating in a hot trash bin. In addition to making you gag every time you come within a 20-foot radius, this especially stinky trash could also mean that you'll meet some very unwanted, swarming guests coming to pay a visit right outside your door. In order to avoid sprinting to your car every time you go outside to avoid buzzing flies or bigger, and more daring dumpster divers coming to call on your stinky meat juices, consider popping leftover absorbent meat pads in your freezer until pickup time. This keeps discarded meat pads from basking in a trash can in the hot sun for up to a week until trash day. It isn't just grocery stores that have access to copious amounts of meat pads for packaging a seemingly endless range of raw meat products. As it turns out, the market for these products is pretty extensive, and a plethora of companies develop them for private consumer usage as well. This means that you can have them shipped right to your door. This is perfect if you're a meat connoisseur turned entrepreneur who will be starting your own butcher business, or just a good friend who is making a one-time delivery of fresh salmon you caught during a fishing trip to a neighbor down the street. Some of these sellers you've no doubt heard of, such as ever-popular big box stores like Walmart or massive online retailers like Amazon. However, smaller businesses may do the same. As always, if you're in the market for absorbent meat pads, shop around a bit to find the best deal for your needs before you purchase. Oh, and one last additional tidbit to keep in mind, absorbent meat pads are often sold in bulk quantities. Be sure to check that number on the screen before you press order. In the event you accidentally throw fish onto the pan with the absorbent pad still stuck to its scaly skin, causing its leaky contents to join the mix, fear not. Any bacteria that may have thrived in the juice-soaked pad will be eradicated within 2 minutes on the stove, as long as the temperature reaches 140 degrees Fahrenheit, according to the USDA. Simply remove the pad when you spot it, and as long as it remains intact, you can resume cooking as usual. Even with this minor slip-up, you are safe to finish frying up your scrumptious skate wing and savor your edible masterpiece. So, what happens if you cook it? Well, picture this scenario. You've spent hours simmering a delightful stew with a rich broth, fresh vegetables, and juicy ground beef. As you lift the lid to check on its progress, you notice a white sheet sitting suspiciously atop the bubbling sauce. Somehow, amidst the hustle and bustle of the kitchen, you accidentally cooked the absorbent meat pad into your dish. Is everything ruined? Accidents happen, and it's not uncommon to encounter an absorbent meat pad unintentionally while preparing a delectable stew. But don't panic. There's a reassuring rule of thumb for such situations. Check whether the pad has been punctured or melted during cooking. If it's torn or broken, it's wise to discard the food to err on the side of caution. However, if the pad remains intact with no leakage, you can confidently savor your meal without worries, according to the USDA. Even if you've unknowingly consumed a sliver of an absorbent pad before, the materials used to construct these pads are digestible, meaning they will pass harmlessly through your system without causing any issues.
What are you eating?
I call this turf and turf. It's a 16-ounce T-bone and a 24-ounce porterhouse.
It's clear that many Americans love meat. The largest division of United States agriculture is concerned with producing meat, especially poultry. In 2017, a whopping 52 billion pounds of meat such as beef, fish, pork, and turkey was produced, along with a separate 48 billion pounds of chicken. That all fed an estimated 325 million Americans. For some of us, it may be hard to believe that those numbers only represent one meat-devouring country. Across the world, many slices of bacon, packs of chicken wings, and hunks of minced flesh have to be packaged for presentation. So as you can expect, there is a high demand for billions of quality meat pads to keep things looking fresh. According to a 2023 press release, the worldwide absorbent meat pad market is projected to rise to multi-million-dollar status by 2030. The countries that purchase the most absorbent meat pads also tend to lead the globe in meat consumption, like the United States, Canada, Japan, and India, among many other regions. Is this a market to be watching or potentially breaking into via your stock market portfolio? We couldn't say, as we aren't financial advisors. All we know for sure is that the human race's love of meat products doesn't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon.